Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Low Side Podcast. This is episode 2. The big 2. We did the first episode. Thank you so much for listening, everyone out there. We appreciate the support. Of course, I'm Nate. I'm joined with Steve.
Hello, everybody.
And Sredy.
Hello!
And that was a Twin Peaks reference. We've got a great episode lined up for you guys. We're going to be talking about Ready Player One. We're going to be talking about some current events.
Ooh.
It's going to be a pretty good time. So before we get into that, little social media plug here. If you want to send us a topic suggestion or perhaps a question, because we want to do a little Q&A on this podcast. So send your questions in or your topic suggestions to the lowsidepodcast@gmail.com. Of course, like us on Facebook, The Low Side Podcast. Twitter's at The Low Side Podcast, and Instagram is the same thing. So check us out on there. We usually are posting behind-the-scenes photos and all sorts of goodies. So
hopefully our behind-the-scenes photos will look a little better once we get out of our tool shed.
Maybe.
Some people appreciate that, all right?
That's
Some
true.
people don't.
It's the charm.
Yeah, we're in the early stages of this podcast, and
We're ironing things out. We
Yeah.
know there
we're
was
relatable.
We know there was
Anybody can start this in their garage.
Right.
Exactly. There
Things
was
are
some
moving up for sure.
some audio issues for the first episode that were pretty unavoidable.
We
but,
even moved rooms, so we're moving up there.
Yeah, moving up. So yeah, let's just get into the news. We're gonna start on a real down note here. So great way to start a podcast.
Always.
But, it's pretty much unavoidable to talk about, as I'm sure most of you are well aware. There was a shooting at the YouTube headquarters, and me and Steve being YouTubers, I would say, and Alex to some degree, this was kind of a shock. So I'm not going to say the shooter's name because I don't think she needs any more publicity or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we're just going to briefly touch on it, but pretty much a disgruntled YouTuber herself who was upset with the recent policy changes and sort of like the adpocalypse that brought on a lot of issues for people who were doing YouTube to make money, doing it as their full-time job. A lot of people's channels got completely demonetized. So she went to the YouTube headquarters and shot 3 people and then killed herself. Thankfully, though, the two of the victims who were shot have already been released from the hospital, so they're okay. And one guy, the one gentleman who is still in the hospital, has moved into a more stable condition than he was before, and the doctors are saying that things are looking up for him.
That's good. That's good.
So no one was killed.
Yeah,
so that's a positive,
right?
For once.
Yeah, no one was killed in the shooting, thankfully. And I pretty much just wanted to say that violence is never the answer, especially something like along the lines of
It's so petty. Like
Yeah.
what she did is so petty.
That's really what boggles my mind. Is I know a lot of people rely on YouTube to pay their bills and stuff. I totally get that, but to just go from just being disgruntled and annoyed about it, because we pretty much everyone on YouTube complains about YouTube all the time, but
Right.
I don't think it should have ever gotten to a point where you would consider killing people that worked at YouTube.
No.
Well, and that's the thing that I wanted to bring up was, anytime someone has been faced with either some sort of disciplinary action, whether it be a suspension from school, like the kid from Florida, or in this case, the lady who is being demonetized, the reaction is to lash out with violence, and violence that's so high scale that it's costing people their lives or major injuries.
Mm-hmm.
When does it stop? What makes you feel like that's the avenue to go to solve your issue? I don't think that it shouldn't happen. It's terrible to see it happen. And there's definitely a different way to approach things like that if you are being disciplined for whatever reason. This lady wasn't being disciplined by any means, but this gun violence thing it's definitely another topic for a different podcast. But I'm just the avenue that people are taking to try and resolve these issues, quote unquote, it's not the way to go.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I don't really want to start the whole Second Amendment. We need to get rid of all the guns, because I feel like this topic is getting a little tiresome, in my opinion. But it is getting ridiculous. Just all these things happening that could be completely avoidable, and just it's a shame that she took her own life as well, because now we have no idea why.
Right.
I mean, we have some idea as to why, but
there's
there's no punishable action for
Right.
what she did.
Right. And there's no way for us to really learn how to help, say, the next person in this issue. I mean, a lot of times people just want to say, oh, they want to take our guns away because of this, and this. Again, we could go on and on about this all night, but there's got to be another underlying reason as to why these people are acting out the way they are. Is it mental? Is it from their background? Is it from the family? Whatever it is. But yeah, like you said, there's no way for us to find out because, she took herself, and that's unfortunate. But again, there's different avenues that we can take to help these people, whether the issues are big or small. I don't think, YouTube was worth what she did. I know she's probably making money from it, and other people are, they have their own jobs out there, but I don't think anyone in their right mind should think this is what's going to solve my issue today. I'm going to go ahead and take this guy's life. Especially, it doesn't make any sense.
Most of the people that probably work in that place have absolutely nothing to do with what YouTube's policies are,
Absolutely.
So why are these people getting punished because some corporate overhead is making these decisions, and then she goes off and starts killing people because they just work there,
Right. So our well wishes go out to the victims of the shooting. Hopefully they all have a speedy recovery and can resume life as normal. So yeah, we just wanted to briefly touch on that. Just being a part of the YouTube community, it's definitely something that's hard to ignore. So moving on to a little bit lighter subject.
Shifting gears here.
Let's try and get bring the energy up, I guess, because I was sad when I saw that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Another YouTube sort of thing that's going on right now is Universal Pictures is getting a little big for their britches here, and this is kind of inside baseball, so I'm going to try my best to explain it to everyone out there who doesn't necessarily know how YouTube works. But recently, Universal Pictures has gone on an absolute rampage. I have no
idea if they're putting out rampage either, but that would be the perfect pun in this moment.
Issuing copyright strikes to YouTubers who do like movie reviews and the sort. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of companies can issue copyright strikes to your YouTube channel if they find that you're using their video content, their audio, like stuff like that. However, most of it is protected under fair use, and especially things like movie reviews and like reactions to trailers and stuff like that. But Universal has decided we don't give a shit about that.
Wow.
We are just going to strike your channel anyway. And it's gotten to the point where there are literal people on the site, Matthew Brando, who's a YouTuber I watch, and he's a big Jurassic Park fan. He was talking about Jurassic Park. No video, no audio from any of the movies or anything like that, but his desktop background was the Jurassic Park logo. And they tried to copyright claim his video.
It's a very good thing that we are not doing video right now, as I am wearing my Jurassic Park hoodie.
Yeah. Get him on the phone.
Now we're going to get the strike because I mentioned the forbidden words.
Yeah. So, and basically, if you are making money off of YouTube and your videos get claimed by these other companies, they can essentially steal all of your ad revenue from the videos that you worked hard to create, edit, and put together. And it's just completely disgusting. And they are just so unbelievably ignorant to the situation. Chris Stuckman, who's a very big YouTube reviewer, he has over 1 million subscribers. Every single one of his videos that is a Universal picture has been copyright claimed by them. And normally, because I've had videos copyright claimed in the past, you can appeal it. And then after a certain amount of time, they'll be like, okay, yeah, we were being stupid. There you go. That's fine. Or they'll take
Universal approach.
And they'll take it all the way to where you have to appeal it again, and then you have to fill out a ton of forms. You have to sign legal documents to try and like take it further. And usually at that point, most YouTubers just give up because like, why would you want to go through all of the headache?
Right.
But it's just gotten to the point where Universal has literally gone insane.
You would think that. I mean, I just feel like you would think that that's good publicity, for your.
Especially if the review was good.
Right. I mean, even if it's bad. I mean, bad publicity is good, but
free publicity.
Yeah, it's just like what. No one is dipping into your pockets. You know, people are still seeing your movies, no matter what it. I mean, depending on what it is, but for the most part, you're gonna get your money somehow. I don't understand why these guys are so nitpicky right now.
Right, and it should be said that usually there's a third-party company that does come in and do the copyright claiming for Universal Pictures, and that's definitely the case. I can't think of the name of the company off the top of my head, but they're scumbags anyway. So. But Universal Pictures is just not acknowledging it at all. There was an article written in Polygon about it. They reached out to Universal for a comment. They didn't have anything to say. So
didn't they get it resolved though? Because I was reading on Twitter that a lot of these YouTubers that were having this issue, they were able to get their videos back up.
Yeah.
Well, their videos back in their possession, I guess, would be better.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, seems to be like turning around a little bit, but. I mean, just the fact that it had to happen anyway, and that Universal Pictures would be so stupid to let that happen, let that company literally copyright claim someone's background in their video.
Yeah, that's a little absurd.
That probably came from their website too. Like maybe something from Universal, I would guess, or maybe it's probably a Google search, but still, I mean, it's them. It's
completely ridiculous that.
Are they going to go out and copyright claim all of these like bigger movie reviewers who have like shows and things like that too?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure they probably got all the rights and permissions and stuff like that, but I mean, they're taking it a little too far.
Yeah, and that's just sort of a lot of movie studios make this mistake, and then they usually back down right away. But I know Universal has at least had a very big history of doing this. One final example, and then we'll move on. A channel I like to watch, Dead Meat, who does like horror movie recaps. He did the Child's Play franchise about like 6 months ago or so, and all of those videos got claimed. Universal Pictures makes all the money on those videos, and they have hundreds of thousands of views on all of them. And the dude works so hard on his videos, and it's just it's such a scumbag move, in my opinion, to steal people's ad revenue like that, and when they're straight up praising the thing that you've released, especially then.
I feel that's not cool.
I don't think it should happen either way, but you know. So I just wanted to talk about that because I thought that was completely ridiculous. And I know, Alex, you have another YouTube grievance that you would like to air, so I'm going to throw it to you.
Yes.
And you can go ahead and take it from here.
So recently I started my film production business officially. I became an LLC.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just threw some money and they put 3 letters at the end of what I already had. But, I've been trying to research a lot on the business end of, just random things that I need to know as far as taxes and things like that.
Right.
So usually I'm a millennial, so I turn to YouTube because I'd rather have the information told to me than reading sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to find a lot of how-to videos on, how to tax or, something silly like that. And I found a common theme in a lot of these videos. Particularly, I got fed up with the very last video I watched, which was I'm trying to learn a little bit about drop shipping, which for those who don't know, that's basically where you are selling a product that somebody else is manufacturing and they're shipping it out to you versus you having an inventory and sending it out yourself. So I'm watching this video, and the first 2 minutes of this 10-minute video is this guy promoting all of his social media pages, just over and over again.
Just rapid fire.
And then he's like, all right, well, now we're going to start talking about this. And then he starts talking about, oh, I have this class or, something, this thing I'm teaching of this product. Make sure you hit this video. And, we're going to get talking at this video or about what I was going to talk about now. But, let me do one more final plug, about, and it's just like, and I've wasted 2 minutes before he starts getting to the information. And once I got to the information, it's pretty much useless. And I was just irritated at that point.
Yeah.
It's almost like they care about plugging their social media more than showing you how to do whatever it is you're looking into.
Exactly. And
Yellow TV.
It really drives me nuts. I mean, yes, you should plug yourself, especially if you're making good content. But if your content is just you plugging yourself,
Like
there's
a
something
constant
wrong.
plug.
Just constant plug.
Yeah.
And I didn't even watch the end of that video, but I'm going to guarantee you the last at least 90 seconds of it is probably like, all right, guys, if you like this video, make sure you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, just
whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. It's a little absurd.
Yeah. It goes back to like what we were talking about on our first episode, where how there is so much information readily available to you, you have to find it. And that's sometimes the problem is you have to find it. You have to see who's legitimate, or not so much legitimate, but who's not plugging themselves so much that they're getting away from the main video of the main point of the video.
I probably made the mistake of clicking on videos with teenagers in them or people in their young 20s.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, hashtag relatable.
Right.
They're going to be in the same situation I'm in.
Right.
Nope. And usually their videos are pretty short, and I try to avoid watching some of the longer content.
Yeah.
And I should have just watched the longer content because I learned more about everything that I needed to know in some of those 20 or 30 minute videos than I did watching 50 of the short 5 to 10 minute videos,
So all in all, subscribe to the Low Side Podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Low Side Podcast, Instagram at the Low Side Podcast. Make sure you follow us on YouTube at the Low Side Podcast.
Twitter, Snapchat,
we're gonna
Grindr,
try and
Tinder.
All right, let's move on. We get it.
That was our attempt at being funny.
Oh,
LOL.
right.
Yeah.
So
we're hilarious. But for real, follow us on all those pages.
Right.
We need the likes, guys. Please give us the likes.
we need the likes. All right, so moving onward right along here, a very brisk pace. We're gonna take it to Shreddy's takes.
Yes, if any of you guys watched, or I guess you can't really watch it, but if you listened to our last podcast, we talked about how I was going to do a YouTube show called Shreddy's Takes.
Shreddy's Takes.
And it was going to be a movie review show. And then I decided to do this podcast with these two instead because I do enough movie stuff to where I'm like, you know what? I don't really feel like taking on extra video work.
Yeah.
So I can just talk for an hour and be done for the week and be okay.
I want to make sure to credit myself with coming up with the wonderful idea of incorporating Shreddy's
Go ahead,
takes.
plug yourself too.
That's true.
What's your
So make sure you follow Nate on Snapchat, Instagram, LinkedIn, Grindr, Tinder,
Grindr? MySpace is top 8.
Yeah, MySpace.
Yeah, I will. First 50 people to follow me will be on my top 50 friends.
What's that old blog that you? I can't remember. It was back when I was in middle school.
Blogspot?
Zanga? Is that what it was called?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh man,
Zanga.
I think
Sounds like an old
it was
beer I used
something
to
like
drink.
that. It was like some blog where you can just write, your feelings.
Nice.
I never used it. I wrote my
Online
feelings
diary
on-
or something?
Yeah,
Dear
essentially.
diary.
So
Essentially.
we're going to talk about Ready Player One. Shreddy is going to give his take on the movie, and then we're going to sort of open it up to discussion because I have a very different opinion than
Yes.
Shreddy. But it won't always be the case on Shreddy's takes. Sometimes we'll agree, and then we'll just,
This is just
gush
gonna
about
be-
a movie.
Yes, this is going to be a very interesting first episode. I want to kind of preface this a little bit. Most reviewers, I don't feel like they really talk about what kind of a film person they are, as far as like, are they just kind of the basic moviegoer, or are they, like a nerdy film goer, or they're just like a film goer. So I wanted to just say that I watch mostly everything. I try not to discriminate unless something looks really bad. Like if something just looks like it's just trying to take my money, I'm not probably going to watch it. But I will watch a lot of bad movies. I would say Steve is probably the casual moviegoer, or is what you would call an out of the basement.
A normie?
There's your free plug-in. The normies.
Yep.
Just you go to the movies maybe once every couple months, couple weeks. You only go see the big movies. You don't really go see the small ones. And then Nate's kind of in between us because he's more of the nerdy guy. He divulges into the nerd culture, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, but although certainly as of recent, probably around, I don't know, mid last year, really when Spider-Man Homecoming came out.
I'm not even just talking about movies though. I'm just talking about in general.
Yeah, I definitely read comic books, play video games, all that nerdy stuff that we always talk about on Out of the Basement. Action figures.
What's
big
up with all
fan
these
of those.
plugs today, man?
We're just plugging hard.
Yeah, we're just plugging.
Sorry for all the plugs,
We're going to
people.
talk so much smack about plugging, and then that's all we're going to do because we are just like everybody
So before we
else.
get to Shreddy's takes,
Yeah.
So, Sredy, give us your take. Are we doing spoilers or are we not doing spoilers?
I'm not going to get too deep into, I mean, I guess we can say this is a spoiler because a lot of things I want to talk about, kind of a counter arguments, because I also want to preface that I watched Nate's Out of the Basement review.
Another plug,
yesterday. Yeah.
I was hoping you wouldn't. You're a cheater for that.
I am a cheater, but I'm like, you guys put it out. You should have waited to put it out.
Yeah.
Gotta get those clicks.
So, okay, I'm just going to start off by saying that I love the movie a lot. One of the things I'm going to try to not talk about, because I feel like it's the obvious thing, but I know Nate and I are going to end up arguing about this a little bit, is I don't want to talk about how it's full of pop culture references, because that is not what I loved about it.
Okay.
So when I watch films, the first thing I ask myself after I leave a movie is, how did it make me feel? You know, did I feel good? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I excited? You know, like, what did I feel like after I watched this movie? And I would definitely say that I am a Spielberg fanatic. He's not my favorite director, but I do love a lot of his movies. And I felt like this movie had a lot of the classic Spielberg tropes, especially when it came more to the live action than it did the animation, because I don't know if I'd really call it, I mean, it was a CG heavy movie, but you might agree with me on this, that I would almost feel like it's kind of like a mix between a live action and an animation.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably like a 70% CG, 30% live action.
But I mean,
split.
like not like a CG in like a superhero movie CG,
Right.
you know, but like an
Animation.
actual like animation.
Yes.
So the things that I really loved about it, and it's some of the things that Nate loved too, is that very first act of the movie, and like where I was completely sold after this movie was the first race. So what this movie is about, it's about a kid named Wade Watts, and he lives in kind of this slummy area. I can't remember what city he lives in. Do you?
It was Columbus, I think.
It was Columbus. Okay. Which I can't remember if that's the same place where the book took place, because I tried to do a little bit of research on the book before we were going to talk about this today. But they live in this society in the future. I think it was 2045, where pretty much everybody indulges in this virtual reality world called the Oasis. And it's basically where you put on the VR goggles and you go into this world, and you can be literally anybody who you want to be. You can be your own avatar. You can be, a famous character. That's where a lot of the pop culture references come from, is, other people that live in this world. They want to be like the only ones I can think of off the top of my head are Chucky and Freddy Krueger that popped up. Spoilers. But they were in the trailer, so I don't know if that's really spoilers.
Yeah, true.
So the plot of the movie is that Wade, or pretty much everybody, is trying to find these 3 keys that the creator of the Oasis left behind, and the person who finds these 3 keys gets to basically own the Oasis, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
They take control of the Oasis.
Yeah, take control of the Oasis. So it's a pretty basic hero's journey plot, which I'm completely fine with,
including typical corporate bad guys.
Yeah, typical corporate bad guys. But we'll get into the fight here.
I will
shortly.
Yeah.
But like I said, the things that I loved about it were that first race. I've been really dying to see a movie that has a big budgeted movie that has really like killer sound design. It has not happened in a long time. Like, there's good sound design on most movies. I think you could probably agree with that. Mm-hmm. But like just listening to that first race, I was just like, it had me on the edge of my seat. Like, I'm not even kidding about that.
I will say, I do agree with you. I thought the sound design was pretty good, especially we both watched this in IMAX.
Correct.
So I did notice that during the first race, especially with, the cars panning on screen, you can definitely hear the surround sound, where I feel like a lot of movies are a little bit more subtle. Even big action movies are usually pretty subtle when it comes to like actually utilizing surround sound.
Right. And it's like, it's part of this whole culture of lazy filmmaking, I feel like, has become a thing now, which really drives me nuts. So that's one of the things that I really respected about this movie, just how well made it was, and how like it needs to be seen in a theater. Like if I go home and watch this movie on DVD or Blu-ray, it's not going to be the same. Yeah. I remember the last movie that I felt like that way was when I saw The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight, like, the screen size and the picture and the sound and all that stuff, like, it was phenomenal. watching that in the IMAX.
Even though I barely remember seeing The Dark Knight, but that was actually the first movie I ever saw in IMAX, and I just remember being like completely blown away.
I saw it 4 times in IMAX.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like it was no joke.
Yeah, I definitely feel like movie, companies they don't use what's available to them in the right way. Like I feel like especially when it comes to like 3D, I think 3D isn't used very well.
3D is like 110% a gimmick.
Yeah.
I also want to say you didn't watch this movie in 3D, right?
No, I saw the 2D.
Okay, so we didn't watch this in 3D, so we're not going to talk about the 3D aspects of
Or
it.
even just like Nate said, like surround sound is, just like that aspect of the movie going experience. A lot of times they miss a key point to really draw you into the show and make it unique. And it just doesn't happen as much as I'd like to see it, especially with the Dolby Atmos. I mean, it's only been a few shows I've seen in there, but even that, I don't feel like it's been used the right way. And I'm just like, I'm not as impressed as I think I should have been.
I think a lot of that has to do with the filmmakers as well, because if they really cared enough, they would put in that extra effort. Because it's not like they can't do it.
Right.
It's just that, all right, a lot of the things with these big movies is we got to hit these dates.
Right.
We sometimes before the movie's even made, they have a release date. So you got this time limit, which I'm all about deadlines. Like, one of the most frustrating things about working on Cashing Out is I don't really have a deadline. So like I don't have I work.
You're not pushing yourself to get done.
Exactly. I work so much better on deadlines, but I'm working on this at my own pace.
Yeah.
So you got this deadline for these huge movies. So they're like, oh shit, it's a week before the movie. We should probably do the sound design. And then, I know that's not how that works.
Right.
But, I just don't feel like they're utilizing all the tools that like they could be.
Right, I agree.
So back on track with Ready Player One.
Yes. So I kind of went over the basic plot of the movie. I'm not going to spoil the ending or anything like that. But like I said, it's a typical hero's journey. I found myself relating to the main character a lot and his female companion, which I know Nate did not. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to get that out of the way.
The main character was the cinematic equivalent to a slice of white bread.
So anyway, getting back to my part of the review. Like I said, I found myself relating a lot to his character, not like in a spiritual level, but just I'm a sucker for if there's a couple of things that I typically like in most movies and those movies use them, I'm pretty much sold. So that part I was okay with. The pop culture references didn't bug me as much as Nate, but we'll get into that eventually. But I just felt like, not that this movie's different, I just felt like the cinematic experience was the best part of the entire thing. And I think that's why I loved it so much.
Okay. I mean, makes sense. And I respect your opinion, of course.
Yes. I'm going to give this movie 8 Chuckies out of 10 Freddy Kruegers.
Wow.
Yes.
An 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10.
Okay, so it's really no secret, especially if you watch any Out of the Basement content. I thought this movie was dreadful. I really had a terrible time from the second act onward. Pretty much right when it got to the big horror movie reference that I don't want to say for the sake of not spoiling.
Well, I was going to spoil that part because I want to talk about it. So
okay, well,
you can go ahead and spoil it. So
just spoil it.
Spoilers.
Okay, so about midway point through the movie, there is just a giant reference, and not even a reference. It's like just a literal scene that takes place within The Shining, the movie.
The Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, the Overlook Hotel. And to me, the scene was okay until it got to the bathroom scene, and they started doing that, with the lady, and then it just escalated from there, and I was like, nope, this is absolutely dreadful. It's so disrespectful to the masterpiece of horror that The Shining is.
See, I don't know if I totally agree with that. I don't know how much. Do you know anything about the book?
The Shining?
No, the Ready Player One. Sorry.
No, I have not read the book at all. So
know anything about it.
No, my knowledge of Ready Player One is the movie, and that is it.
Okay. The Shining stuff was not in the book.
Okay.
It was actually war games. So sort of like the second key that they had to find was they had to reenact a scene perfectly from war games.
Okay.
I haven't personally seen war games. So I felt that Steven Spielberg probably had a personal I know he has a personal connection to The Shining, and I feel like that's why he replaced that scene.
What movie are we talking about again?
For what?
I just haven't seen any of these movies. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well,
The
as
normie
Nate,
over
as,
here.
as
Normie,
Nate pointed
yeah.
out, one of the things that they talk about a lot is, oh, you haven't seen The Shining?
Yeah. It's a big joke within all of the characters because a few of them haven't seen The Shining and they just keep repeating it over
Oh,
and
you
over
haven't seen The
again.
Shining?
And I'm just like, we get it. Not a lot of people have seen The Shining. Like, I feel like that was the joke, but they
Right.
just kept nailing it into your head.
Now, do I feel like that sequence was silly and over the top? Yes. I don't know if I'd necessarily say disrespectful, just because I know, like, Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick were really close, especially before he died. He was almost like a mentor to him.
Right. And Steven Spielberg took over that movie AI.
Right.
That was originally a Kubrick film.
Okay. Why is it disrespectful to you? Like, why is your opinion that way?
Just because, just based off of what I know about Stanley Kubrick and like his efforts as a director and how seriously he takes everything and how much of like a craftsman he was, it's just they turned The Shining into a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disrespectful because it's one of the greatest horror movies of all time. And it just, I don't know, just seeing it like that, seeing a movie like that just turned and played for laughs, I was just like,
It just rubbed you the wrong way.
I was like, come on,
Yeah.
like pick something else. Not that. Especially if they were that close. Like, could you imagine what Stanley Kubrick would say if he was alive and saw that scene?
He would probably flip out, to be honest.
He'd probably pull a
Exactly.
Universal and start pulling money for it.
And that's why I'm like, and if Steven Spielberg really was so close to Kubrick, then I'm just like you just disrespected him, dude. So that's my stance on it.
Do you know if the horror community feels the same way? And
No. From what I see, most people in the horror community received it pretty positively.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
and that's kind of the same for me, because I can arguably say that I'm a bigger Shining fan than Nate. I'm pretty sure I got him into The Shining. Like, didn't you watch it for the first time recently until I started like bashing you for not seeing it?
My thing is I saw The Shining when I was younger, but I didn't really remember it. So I always just told people I had never seen The Shining, because that's kind of how I like I'll say things like that, like, oh, I've never seen this movie, even if I've seen it as a little kid, but like I don't remember anything
it's not
about
the same.
it. So I might as well just say I've never seen it because I don't remember.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So-
I revisited The Shining for the first time probably about 2, maybe 3 years ago, something like that.
So if you ask me top 3 favorite movies right now, I'm gonna go Fight Club, Halloween, The Shining.
Okay.
So like I've seen that movie a lot, and I've researched it, and I'm not gonna really get into that, but I'm a huge Shining nerd, to say the
Let's
least.
talk about Room 237.
Oh boy, I need to rewatch that before we talk about it. We should do a Shining episode. We got to get Steve to watch it.
Yeah, I've
We
never
can-
seen it.
we can talk about it.
10,000% down for that.
Yes, I could definitely do a whole Shining episode with Nate, and it'd be entertaining as hell. But I don't know. I loved it. I loved being able to see it again. I wasn't expecting to see it. So I mean, it was just a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel how you feel. It is what it is.
Right. And we're adults here, we respect each other's
Right.
opinions, so we're not
I'm not gonna say, hey Nate, Out of the Basement sucks. Your guys' opinions suck. Shut up. I can get meaner, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but just
You get what I was going at.
yeah, just getting back to some of my issues with it. I thought the acting across the board was all pretty bad, pretty lackluster.
And I wanted to comment on that too, but you go ahead and finish.
A lot of just straight up like, this is the script and I am reading it to you, but I don't know what I'm actually reading to you because I am an actor.
And I remember I should have looked up the actress's name, but I know which one you're talking about. The one that plays H, right?
Yes.
You're talking about her specifically.
Dreadful.
I'm going to guess you've never seen her in anything else, right?
No.
Okay. I can't say that she's a great actor, but that's just kind of her style of acting. She's in Aziz Ansari's Netflix show, Master of None. Fantastic writer. She also has, she created the show The Chai. I don't know if you've heard of that on Showtime.
I'm unaware.
It's one of their newest shows that takes place in Chicago. I think she's from the Chicago area too.
Okay.
But she's a fantastic writer. She's an okay actress, but that's just kind of her style. And have you seen Ty Sheridan in anything else?
X-Men Apocalypse.
Okay, so that's not really a fair assessment. The first movie I saw him in is Mud, Maybe you just didn't like their style of acting so much as
It just came off as very flat to me.
okay. I mean, it's a big blockbuster movie too. They're just trying to be movie stars. Nobody's gonna win any awards for this movie.
Yeah,
And
I will say the one thing is I hate T.J. Miller. So the
Okay.
fact that he showed up in this movie, I was
I
just
was-
like, please.
I'm actually really surprised he's still in movies right now. After he's got some of those allegations against him too. And
Yeah.
I'm like, really? He's in this movie right now?
It's
Like he's in have you heard of Silicon Valley?
yeah, I know what that is.
Okay, so I'm a huge fan of that show. And he recently departed. And he's
What?
talking a lot of shit too after he departed about everybody on the show. So we can just kind of tell how much of a piece of shit he is, which is
Yeah.
really unfortunate because he was one of my favorite characters on that show. Yes, he just plays himself, but he was hilarious and I loved it. But I agree. There was
Yeah.
no purpose of him being on this movie.
It's funny too because I don't recall his name being on the posters or anything
It probably
like
wasn't.
that.
I mean, he's such a minor character.
But
It's not like he's a draw. And even with
true.
everything going on with him right now, I don't think they're gonna put his name on anything big
Yeah.
anytime soon.
So I just hate his shtick that he has going where he'll deliver a joke and then he'll over explain it to you. Like that's kind of like what he does in most movies. And I'm just like, it's so tired at this point. Like
Yeah.
he's been playing the same character since The Incredibles.
I'm pretty sure even before that. Wait, when did The Incredibles come out?
Was that 2004 maybe?
I was about to say because I thought because I'm pretty sure his first role was in Cloverfield, and that came out in 2007. I want to say.
And I know Incredibles is not that recent. Steve, can you get us a quick fact check?
It is a
Yep, we'll
fact
find
check.
out.
But I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty certain his first role was in the first Cloverfield.
Okay. Well, I also thought that Ben Mendelsohn didn't really bring anything to the table. Very generic bad guy. Like
I know.
he was like because he plays Director Krennic in Rogue One.
Yes.
And he kind of played that same character just like times 1,000.
See, I
2004.
feel like
You were right. 2004.
Okay. Was he? See if T.J. Miller's in The Incredibles.
I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure he voices someone.
Okay. So getting back on track, I just feel like it's not that their acting is bad. It's just that they just don't have much to do. They're
Well, yeah,
going into their the cliche corporate bad guy, like you were saying, and then like the typical hero.
I guess I should adjust my phrasing to say the writing is bad.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that 100%, but the dialogue probably could have been a little bit better. Because I was about to say the other one I wanted to talk about was Olivia Cook. I don't know if you've ever seen Me, Earl and the Dying Girl.
Negative.
Fantastic movie. I get emotional every time I watch it, and part of that is from her performance. She's incredible. You shut up. But yeah, she's fantastic too. So you got all these great actors, and like I said, the acting aspect didn't really bother me that much. Maybe just because I was having such a good time that I just wasn't paying attention to those kinds of things. I don't know. I'd have to give it a second watch, but I didn't have as strong of feelings as you.
Are you thinking about How to Train Your Dragon?
He might be thinking. I know
he
he's
was
How
in
to Train Your
that, but
Dragon.
I don't see anything with him being
Okay.
in The Incredibles.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I've just misremembered that, but
Yeah.
either way,
Big Hero 6 also.
The point being, T.J. Miller plays the same exact character in every single movie
Right.
/
Yes.
animated film he's in. Another thing I wanted to say was that I felt that the story had no stakes at all. Pretty much right from the get-go, you know exactly how the movie's going to play out, and I know it's not trying to be anything like different. It's definitely a very safe movie, but just the fact that like they face zero opposition through most of the movie. The corporate guys will put up a fight for like 2 seconds and then the heroes just completely annihilate them. And it just, I mean, I'm glad that nothing was really played to be like a tense moment or like, ooh, is this person going to die or anything like that. I'm glad they didn't try to go that route because I definitely would have been more annoyed, but I was just like you knew right from the get-go, you're like, all right, this guy's going to find all 3 keys and he's going to win the internet. So there we go.
Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna get that with no matter what hero's journey kind of movie.
True.
You're always gonna get that. I'm more along for the ride than anything else.
But normally when a movie plays it so safe like Ready Player One, to me, at least, there'll be like interesting characters or someone to latch onto. And for me, this movie had none of that at all.
I guess I latched on more to the filmmaking
Yeah.
than anything else.
But
Damn me.
The last thing I do want to talk about is the hand-holdy pop culture references. I like pop culture references and I like referential humor, but when it's subtle. Like the fact that there's so many instances in this movie where they have to say, oh, look, it's Mechagodzilla. Oh, look, it's the Iron Giant. Like that, I was just like, you don't have to explain it to people.
See, I find that kind of hilarious because I was thinking about this when you were talking about it on Out of the Basement, but you're probably going to hate cashing out because I tried very hard to make sure that even if you've never touched a deck of cards before, you're going to know what the hell's going on in these poker games.
Well, that's different, though, because if you're explaining how to play poker, I feel like that...
No, it's not so much playing poker. It's, oh, I don't know what's going on. So the character, like, it's like, oh, which hand's going to win, or who's got the better hand, or who's losing. You know, I tried to make that very obvious. I will agree because I'm very tired of these big movies treating their audiences like they're a bunch of idiots.
Exactly.
I didn't feel like this one was as bad, but maybe because I didn't get so many of the pop culture references that I didn't care as much.
So how did they come at you and say, "Hey, this is the Iron Giant"? Like
literally exactly like that.
Okay, so they say it like this. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember that Iron Giant scene where
when
you're just like, wow, that's a big iron, or that's a Iron Giant, or something like that.
Like the main character walks into a room and the character H is building an Iron Giant for herself, and he's like, "Whoa, you're building an Iron Giant?" Like, thank you.
I understand the reasoning though, because you have to think this movie in particular, and I noticed this when I was watching it, but it's a lot of people kind of our age or a little bit older bringing their little kids to this movie, and their kids are not going to know any of these people. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
you think they're just trying to appeal to different generations easily without having to explain too much.
A lot of that could be, you know, typical corporate nonsense that is annoying Nate right now. But, you know, I felt like being able to explain who these people are, and I didn't think they went too over the top with explaining. I felt like Justice League did a much worse job of explaining everything that was going on, and that annoyed the shit out of me the entire movie. But I won't disagree with him that it does happen a lot. They always, if there's some main character that they're putting their focus on, they're going to sit like it's Mechagodzilla. So, you know, I get it, but it didn't bother me.
Or same thing with the Chucky, you know.
It's Chucky!
Yeah, and I'm just like...
Try this one.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
That just...
Here, I will say this, though.
All right.
That was one of the main complaints about the book, too.
Yeah.
Because I guess this book is very frowned upon. So, I mean, do we blame the book or the movie, you know? That could be a debate on its own, but
yeah. So overall, personally, for me, I would give the movie a 2 out of 10.
Whoa!
I thought it was dreadful.
2 Chuckies out of
2 Chuckies or Mega?
Yeah. Or Mechagodzilla.
2 Chuckies out of 10 Mechagodzillas.
All right. How many Halo Chiefs would you give it?
Oh, hey, you know he's
in the movie.
Yeah,
I did see a little bit.
There were what, 4 of them?
Yeah. There's a bunch of Spartans. There's characters from Overwatch, Borderlands. There's alien references.
But like I said, I understand why they did it, because if you went into tell me a pop culture character that you're fond of.
Well, okay, so yeah, like Master Chief, and it was cool to see him in the show.
Okay,
but
so
that's all I saw.
I know,
that was it.
Okay, so say like you wanted to go into this virtual reality world, and instead of creating your own avatar, you're like, you know what would be badass? I'm going to be Master Chief. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that was a lot of the thought process as to why there are so many pop culture references, because a lot of people in this that really indulge in the pop culture world, they want to be these characters. You know, that's why cosplaying is so big. Yeah. So I think I had that going through my mind, because the world of the Oasis, I feel like, is very relevant right now. And a lot of people wish they were in that sort of world. So I felt like the pop culture references were very appropriate for this movie.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, but, you know.
The one final thing I do want to say about the pop culture references is, to me, at a certain point, specifically like the ending, like the third act pretty much of the movie,
where every pop culture reference is in the movie.
It just became distracting to the point where I wasn't even paying attention to the movie, because I was like,
Oh, I know this one. I
Like,
know
look
this
at all
one.
these
Well,
characters going
let me
on.
ask you this then. Do you feel like that's because of you being so into the nerd culture, or because I didn't feel that way at all. Like, yeah, there's a lot going on in that third act, but I wasn't distracted. Like, it's very, very difficult for a movie of this length, which I think without the credits, it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, I want to say.
Yeah.
Movies that long, I'm usually thinking about something else during these big scenes because I'm getting bored. Every superhero movie I've ever watched, except with the exception of Black Panther, I think, recently, like I was during the third act, I'm just somewhere else. Like I'm not thinking about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I did recognize a lot of things, and I could say that could have been a large reason as to why I was being pulled out of it so hard. It was just because I was like, oh, there's characters from Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat characters. Like I recognized a lot of stuff, and so it just ended up being more of a distraction, and I just couldn't focus on the actual story or anything.
You're trying to like, oh, do I know this reference or not, or do like stuff like that. That's kind of how I would look at it. Like half the time, like the 5 minutes that I saw, probably I got half of them.
Yeah,
and it's just like, again, I'm the normie here, but it's just
well,
like
I'm kind of on your side on this too because I did not get a lot of them. Like unless it's some big character that I know, like Master Chief or Chucky or Freddy Krueger or something like that. Like I couldn't tell you half. Probably like if I had to put a percentage on it, I probably have like 25% now, 25% of my knowledge compared to Nate of what he knew.
Yeah. I guess I could see how it's distracting. I guess for me, I would be like, do I even know what they're talking about right now? Do I even know who this character is? No. Okay, maybe I lost interest. Oh, look, there's Halo Chief.
But like to me, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the pop culture references in the movie are very like entry level, like you know who this character is pretty much, even if you're gonna recognize Scorpion or Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, even if you don't know what Mortal Kombat is, but you just know, Yellow Ninja and Blue Ninja, like Mortal Kombat. At least that's how my perspective is, and a lot of the people that I know are, not so much into the whole nerd culture thing, but still can recognize, even if they don't know their name or anything like that, they're just like, I recognize that. So, Steve, what did you think of Ready Player One?
Ooh,
yes. What did you think of Ready?
Bitch.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go see it Sunday, and
and then he didn't.
Failed miserably. I was actually supposed to see it Thursday with you on opening night, Alex.
Yeah, you know what, Steve?
This is a new segment called Grillin' Steve.
Yep. Like shortly after we recorded the first podcast, Steve and I worked together, and he asked me. I told him I was going to go see Ready Player One on Thursday, and he's like,
"Ooh, hey Alex, what time are you going?
Let me know when you're going. If you're not going to the 3D show, I'd like to join you." And I'm like, "Okay." So on Thursday, I figured out what show I wanted to go to. It was not 3D, so I texted him. I got the most vague response you could imagine.
What did I even say? I deleted
just a GIF. A gift that made no sense.
I had nothing good to say except for
Jennifer Lawrence just saying yes, like sarcastically.
Oh yeah, that was her.
And I'm just like, you know what? If he's there, cool. If not, then
even cooler.
Typical Steve.
Yeah, I definitely do need to step up the movie game. I will say, compared from this year to last year, though, I'm 5 movies ahead.
I saw 1 movie last year. This year I saw
2.
5 movies.
Yeah. And I turned 1 off.
Yeah.
So that kind of, I'm going to transition into this next topic then that I wanted to talk about. Since I kind of described the 3 of us and what kind of moviegoers we are, I want to know what gets you into a theater. Like what gets you hyped? Because you're not a huge, I don't know if I'd define you as a movie fan.
Yeah.
Like you're not like a huge movie fan like Nate and I are.
Right. I think for me, when it comes to like Netflix, when it comes to movies, I generally steer towards documentaries. I really like history. I like history that I can relate to, or even that was, we're talking about pop culture, events that happened recently at the beginning of the show and now in the movie, but like stuff from the 90s when I was a kid. Like that stuff really, like the O.J. Simpson case, Kurt Cobain, all that kind of stuff really draws my attention, especially when there's a big tragedy, with someone dying or, there was whatever it is,
So would you say, just based off what you just said right now, you're not super into fiction, I guess?
Right.
You prefer the nonfiction?
Right. I do like nonfiction better. I do, like the occasional, horror flick or scary movie, but it's very rarely. I mean, I have some bad experiences with the movie The Ring, and we're not even going to get into that because that's just going to, I'm not going to sleep tonight if we keep talking about it. But yeah, I just think for me, it takes a lot for me to get into the theater. So, but when I do go, like, I'm looking forward to Chappaquiddick. How many of you guys are looking forward to that? Probably not. Yeah.
Well, Jason Clark's in it, and he does that weird thing with his mouth, so I'm not going to watch
Oh,
it.
is it tiny mouth syndrome?
Yeah.
It's not even a tiny mouth syndrome. It's just he just tenses his mouth, and it just
so small.
bothers me.
Yeah. So just movies like that, and then what you were saying with like World War II movies are real big with me.
But you didn't like Dunkirk.
And I'll tell you why, because you had mentioned earlier that you like movies where there's, you're invested in it, right? And there was no one in Dunkirk that I was invested in. There was no real danger for these guys.
All right, I'm not going to grill you on Dunkirk because we're going to get
another Dunkirk discussion for another
Dunkirk
time.
discussion for another time because Ready Player One took us a half hour,
Right?
And I could grill you on why.
And I
don't
definitely agree
with
with
that.
Sredy, and I think that Dunkirk is damn near a masterpiece.
See, and I did not. I was just, for me as the normie here, I wasn't invested in any of those characters. There was
it's
not
funny.
one person was. Well, I was like, oh wait, don't go there. Maybe the boat scene where they were hiding in the boat, towards the end of the movie. But that was about it. There was like the only real danger I felt like they were in. If I'm going to be invested in a movie, it needs to be, and this is probably going to sound super casual, but like Saving Private Ryan. Tom Hanks' character from the beginning of the movie towards the end where he doesn't make it, I'm invested with him and his crew the whole time, and I'm just like, hey, I want to see him make it. I want to see him get his guys out of this town and move on to the next advancement, whatever, So there was that connection, that investment with his character to, come on, man, you can do it.
Yeah.
Where in Dunkirk, maybe it was just stylized so different that I didn't really appreciate it or see it.
I feel like the whole approach to it was to kind of make you feel like you were
disorienting.
there. Because when you're in a situation like that, you're not the focus, Like if we were to go to overseas, for
Right.
The army or, one of the branches of the military, it's not going to matter. We're not three separate people. We're a group.
Right.
That's the big thing about the military.
Right.
It's not about the individual. It's about the group. And I feel like that's what Chris Nolan was trying to accomplish with Dunkirk, is that it's not about the group. Like, you did have that focus on all these, these little characters, but, and that's your main complaint about it. But, that I understand why he did it.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems like, Steve, you like in your movies, you like to have someone to root for.
Yeah.
And in Dunkirk, you're sort of rooting for a collective of people.
Right. No
So
one
that's
really
harder
stood
to-
out to be,
yeah.
you're like, hey, who is, I know, I understand, and I get that point. Like there was a group of dudes who went in and they were trying to accomplish this mission, but no one really was like the leader per se. So that's kind of where I feel like it fell flat. But I think that's also just, again, personal preference. And I also feel like a lot of movies that are like that, they do have that central character, whether it's a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's probably jarring for you since you aren't a huge film buff, because you probably don't see movies like that a lot. There's no central character, so it was just very off-putting to you that
Right.
this wasn't there.
Right.
And I wanted to say too, I find that interesting because documentaries don't always have like a central character either, and this movie is very documentary-like.
Well,
in a sense.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that totally, because a lot of the documentaries I watch, there's generally one person or a couple people involved that are the main focus or the stars of the documentary or show, whatever
Right.
it is. And then, there's the story in there, and, but I don't know. But yeah, just for me, what makes a good movie, I definitely like movies that are, centralized around like family, and it's whether like it's the family's just a chaos all the time. I feel like I think Adam Driver was in a movie a few years ago where he was in a family with 3 sisters and him and his parents, and they were just it was just chaotic. But it was also like a lot of people can relate to that. So
Yeah.
my movies are also need to be relatable in some sense. So
Okay.
that's kind of what, where I fall in.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. I'm a huge sucker for the family theme. I try to implement that somewhat into most of my stories and things like that. And a lot of my favorite movies, use that theme a lot. So I can definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to watch Predator. I want to see it, and I don't want to see it. It just
See what?
Ready Player One.
Oh, okay.
So back to that. I just, 2.5 hours.
Don't watch it at home. You got to watch it
Right.
in a theater,
Yeah.
otherwise it's pointless.
I kind of wish it was in GDX, but we'll see.
The sound design is still pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right.
I will agree with you there. Now, it probably would have been a great Atmos movie.
For me, what gets me into a theater, I pretty much don't need a lot of convincing to go see something in a theater, especially if it's something I'm mildly interested in. But obviously, I wouldn't like go out of my way to see like Transformers or some crap like that. But yeah, if the movie looks interesting, if it's got a good trailer, most of the time, half of the movies I go and see, I don't even watch trailers for, and I just think, oh, it sounds interesting, so I'll just go tag along. And
I tried to stop watching trailers too.
I feel like my movie going experience has been a lot better since I stopped watching trailers. Like I did not watch a trailer for 3 Billboards before I saw it. I didn't see a trailer of Shape of Water before I saw it. I was just like, okay, 3 Billboards sounds interesting. I'm going to go see it. I know nothing about it. And I really ended up loving that movie just because of the twists and turns that I had no idea it was going to go on.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, I'm pretty loyal to directors. I like actors, that kind of thing. So like Guillermo del Toro makes a movie, I'm there. Doesn't matter what it's about. I'm going to see it.
Going off topic here for a second. Did you see that Guillermo got Fox Searchlight? I think it was Fox Searchlight picture deal where he's going to be like the head guy for their new horror sci-fi department that they're doing.
The thing that scares me about that is Guillermo del Toro sort of famously, to the point where it's almost a meme, attaches himself to things like that, and then those projects either get canceled or he moves on from the project. He is very notorious for starting things like that. He was supposed to direct the Universal Monsters Frankenstein movie before the dark universe imploded because, the mummy's a giant piece of shit.
Yeah.
To no one's surprise.
Right.
But yeah, for me, if like an actor, maybe like Ryan Gosling or someone like that, is in the movie, I'll go see it. So I'm pretty much, I feel like I'm more so loyal to directors and actors than like movie premises.
I can definitely agree with that. Kind of what gets me into a theater. I'll pretty much watch anything. I don't like movies with a ton of CG. That's one of my main gripes with a lot of the Marvel movies now, is I feel like it's more focused on the color than anything else.
Even though I didn't see Black Panther, I watched probably about a half hour of it, and the CG in that movie is rough.
It is pretty bad. It's not rough in the entire movie. I would say just like the first couple of big
What
CG
scene did you watch that you saw?
Did you watch
was it the train scene?
The first fight?
I don't know specific. It was a fight scene.
Was it on the waterfall?
Or was it on the train?
It was. I think it was more so towards the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
There was like a giant CG rhino, and it looked terrible.
He's talking. Yeah, like the main fight against the boss. He's talking about. Yeah,
I felt like that a lot of the CG in those scenes looked pretty bad, especially for a movie that I would assume the budget's probably like 150 million.
Yeah, it's about the same as pretty much every other Marvel movie.
Yeah, so it's pretty embarrassing. I feel like Marvel just needs to get a new company to do their visual effects.
Yeah, I feel like it's not even that. I almost wonder if they used like a different company, because I don't know if they had a ton of faith in this movie, which is a shame, because I don't know if you guys have seen much of Ryan Coogler's stuff, but he is a phenomenal director.
What else has he done?
He did Creed, which I'm not a huge sports movie guy,
That was
but
a good movie.
Creed was fantastic.
Yeah,
and Fruitvale Station.
Fruitvale
right?
Station, yeah. His first movie, which, super low budget, and it made him famous, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge Ryan Coogler fan, and I just felt like they didn't give him all the resources that he needed for this movie. And it kind of hurt in the end, because Steve probably wouldn't have noticed this, but I talked a lot about the sound design on Ready Player One being so good. And I felt like a lot of the sound design on Black Panther was just bad. Like, I felt like some of the sound effects just sounded weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know how to describe it. I can't really tell you, but like if a plane or a ship were to fly by, it didn't sound like a plane or a ship.
It sounded like a boat going through the water.
I just didn't feel it. Like, especially like I watched it in IMAX,
it's a
and
wrong sound effect.
I didn't feel it, And like a lot of the fighting sound effects, like the punching, just sounded super fake. I'm just like, what is going on? Like, if you thought the CG looked bad, like some of those sound effects were just atrocious.
And obviously we've talked about it a lot, like obviously not on the podcast, but it's pretty clear that Marvel their director is it's just a name pretty much. And, you know, Kevin Feige or whoever else is in charge of Marvel is really the people that are like, we're doing this, and if you disagree with us, we're just going to fire you from the project. You know, Edgar Wright,
Right.
Ant-Man.
I feel
Ant-Man probably would have been the best Marvel movie, period, if Edgar Wright would have gotten to do what he wanted.
And I think that's sort of half true depending on which movie it is, because I feel like James Gunn has a lot of control over Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I feel like you could agree with that. I feel like a lot of James Gunn is in that movie.
And I would agree.
Like a lot of Ryan Coogler is in Black Panther.
Okay.
For sure. But I feel like a lot of their properties where they don't have a ton of faith in other people, you know, I could definitely agree with that. I think the first example of that where the Marvel movies just kind of started going in their own direction, in a sense, for some people, was the Thor Ragnarok. Because they had the director of, what's the movie? What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, but...
Taika Waititi?
Yeah. He is, like, Thor Ragnarok was a weird movie.
Okay,
Like,
I didn't see it.
It had all those, like, the typical Marvel tropes, but, like, there were elements that are not in the other two Thor movies. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah,
Like, I can get down with this, I guess, but it's just strange for a Marvel movie, you know?
Thor's pretty much always been a mess. So I think they were definitely ready for...
Try something new.
For someone to take it and just do something with it. Because Thor 1 is okay.
Do you remember who directed those movies?
I don't remember
it
off
wasn't
the top
anything
of my
like
head.
super
Didn't see him.
Thor 2 was almost like a pseudo remake of The Phantom Menace.
Didn't see it.
So I actually fell asleep in the theater during Thor 2. That's how
I don't remember.
That's how
Thor 2.
wonderfully interesting it is. But yeah,
and the only thing I remember about Thor, the first one, is Natalie Portman, because I like Natalie Portman.
Yeah, how can you forget that?
But yeah, so I don't know. We kind of went on a tangent there about Marvel.
Tangent, because now I wanted to talk about why I go to the movies, or what gets me into the theater. I typically, like I said, I will watch pretty much everything, even if it's something I don't really want to see. My girlfriend will have a lot of say into what I watch too, because she'll want to see a movie, and sometimes I don't always want to see it, but I'll see it if she wants to see it. I will say that I try to stay away from a lot of romancy movies, not because of the romance. I like romance in my movies
because of the sex, right?
It's not just because of the sex. I like romance in movies, but I don't like movies about romance. I like when it's a part of the story, but I don't like when it's the story.
Is it because it doesn't give a fair representation of what it's like for real?
Well, I mean, movies
like
are
this fairy tale sense. I
am fine with a fantasy, because movies are fantasies. It does not need to be realistic, but I just feel like a lot of these movies, they're very one note,
right?
They there's not a lot of good characterization within their characters, and it bothers me, you know. And a good example of that is the most recent 50 Shades, you know, finally ending that. I feel like that movie, just the message behind it, it gives the wrong impression to girls, especially younger girls, on what love is supposed to be. And, you know, this guy, Christian Grey, is a super abusive douchebag. And, you know, a lot of people who I know that like this movie, they're just like, well, you know, Anastasia's trying to change him. You know, she's trying to make him a better man.
Yeah.
But, you know, it shouldn't have been like that in the beginning. You know, like, she shouldn't keep going after this idiot who just, you know, it's not even beating her up, you know, physically. It's all emotional.
Right. I was going to say borderline abusive, and she's just like, oh, I'm going to keep trying.
Yep.
Well, if you look, though,
I need a man. So, you know, this is my life. I need men.
Right. A lot of people kind of go through that phase, but whether it's male or female, you know, and they kind of just go back to the same old thing because it's what's familiar. And that doesn't mean it's right. Yeah. But, you know, that's just kind of what people fall into.
And I hate that you had to say that it's familiar.
Right.
It shouldn't be familiar.
Well, right. It shouldn't be by any means. But that's how, you know, it's just part of the relationships for some people.
I agree with you about romance movies. I feel like a lot of them are very one note, and it sets up a very unrealistic expectation of real life romance.
Yeah.
Especially for younger people watching the movies. They're like, thinking that this is what it's supposed to be like, and you're like, So
not saying that movies that use romance, you know, that are romance is not the central theme of the movie. I'm not saying that every single one of them gets it right, but, you know, a lot of more of those movies get it right than any other movie. I will say that I do watch straight romance movies depending on what it's about. So an example of that is a movie that I recently loved called Call Me By Your Name, which is a gay romance movie. And the thing that annoyed me most about that movie is that these gay romance movies are getting love a lot more right than, these straight romance movies, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but, come on, take example of a movie like that where that movie's completely heartbreaking. And, these girls are gushing over 50 Shades, because, they're together, they're not together, he hit her, she didn't.
It's it's like the
stupid stuff
drama.
like
She
that.
hit her.
I haven't seen Call Me By Your
I
Name.
did not hit her.
Yeah.
I did not. I didn't see Call Me By Your Name. I plan on seeing it. I just haven't found it for the right price on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It
seems it's one of those movies that really feels super pretentious, but by the end you're just like, what happened? Like, what did you just do to my heart?
Yeah.
So getting off topic again. Like I said, I like a lot of movies. I try not to be super picky. I quit looking at Rotten Tomatoes because
Good.
I mean, I do look at Rotten Tomatoes, but
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
I try not to because it just drives me nuts that people don't understand how Rotten Tomatoes works.
They also treat it like the Bible.
Yeah, it's not the Bible. It's just what these critics who have their own taste in movies, what they think about it. And then, the score is just based on, it could be good. A couple of people liked it, and the thing is you can get a positive review out of what would be like a D score.
Yep.
And it would still be considered fresh.
Right.
So you could have this movie such as like A Quiet Place right now that's at 99%, but if 50 out of 50 critics give it a D score, it's still going to look like it's a positive review. And we haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't say if it's bad or not. But
Right.
people just take Rotten Tomatoes too literally.
Yes. And it's really unfortunate when you hear people saying, well, it has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it must be good. I've seen countless movies that are high scores, and I'm just like, that was trash.
I don't know when this whole Rotten Tomatoes society started happening, because I've been looking at Rotten Tomatoes for years and nobody was talking about what the hell's Rotten Tomatoes. And
me,
now it's implemented everywhere, even on TV. Like if I turn on my Comcast cable box, like Rotten Tomato scores are on the movies.
Dude, when you buy a Blu-ray these days, if it's certified fresh, it has a fucking sticker on it.
Yeah.
That lets you know that. So
Yeah.
Gotta see it.
yeah.
It's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody loved it.
I really feel like the Rotten Tomatoes thing sort of picked up a lot of steam around like Batman versus Superman. Do you remember when the reviews started coming out for that? And people were like, there's no way. It's like, it had like a 50 or something. And people are like, no way.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And then so like it like sparked this sort of like flame of people being like, well, Rotten Tomatoes is my church now. I believe everything that it says to me, even though it's a review aggregator. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that could be a topic for another day.
It really could be.
Because
I've fallen victim
hate
to
Rotten
the
Tomatoes.
Yeah. Because I used to it was my church at one point for movies. I'm like, all right, if this movie has a 30%, I'm not going to see it. But I can't remember a recent movie that had like a really low score that I know a movie I loved. Have you seen Into the Storm?
No.
When that came out, it's like this CG like disaster movie
like
that's found footage.
Like a tornado movie,
It's
right?
a tornado movie. The movie is so stupid, but it's so entertaining that I just loved it. And, it had like a, 2% on Rotten Tomatoes. But I'm like, I had a good time, so who cares?
There's definitely movies like that. Like, I mean, for instance, for me, the whole Friday the 13th franchise, I don't think any of those movies has above like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I love every single one of them.
Yeah, you shouldn't let somebody else's opinion dictate what you can listen to them. Like, definitely, like, I love that people respect my opinion about movies, but don't let that deter you from liking something. Like I always say, I'm not going to give you shit for liking a movie. You can like 50 Shades. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, but I'm going to respect your opinion in the end.
Yeah.
Why I think you're wrong. Sorry.
My phrase this year so far has been, it's 2018, you like what you like.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need someone else to formulate your opinion for you. If you like whatever movie, TV show, whatever, cool. That's all.
Just own it.
Yeah, just own it. Yeah, don't, because I used to be like that. Like if I was embarrassed about liking something, I tried to hide it. So I
You
didn't want
kind
to
of go with
judged.
the crowd. No, I didn't like that movie.
Yeah, I didn't like that
Oh,
movie.
you didn't like it either,
Then
Nate?
I go
Yep,
home
me
and
neither.
Then I go home and watch it, like 100 times. But
So-
it's,
Secretly on your Dear Diary online.
I'm
Best
sitting there
movie
watching
ever.
it on my phone while I'm saying, "Yeah, this movie's a piece of shit."
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
So moving on to our final segment, we're gonna just do some random rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire.
So we're basically going to go around and we're just going to do some random ass questions just to kind of have a little bit of fun here before we take off into the promised land. So Steve, why don't you start us off? You got 2 questions for Alex. You got 2 questions for me. Let's do it.
All right, Sredy, you ready for your rapid fire?
I'm ready for my rapid
All
fire.
right,
Fire.
Alex, would you rather die in an airplane or a boat accident?
Well, I could never see myself in a boat, so I don't know if I'd really want to drown. I think I'd rather it end instantly, so I'm going to say a plane.
But it's not instant, though. I mean, let's say
but-
you're 30,000 feet in the air and you're just falling and falling. You see your imminent
See,
death,
you didn't
right?
say that.
No, you
No,
said
I know.
plane
I
said
know.
in the
I know.
plane.
Oh, I did say that.
You did say
But
in
still,
the plane.
you gotta go down. You gotta go down somewhere.
That's true, and it's going to suck, but at least I can breathe.
Right.
I'm not sitting there like panicking because I'm literally sucking in water that I can't do anything about.
Yeah, for me, it would be okay. All right, second rapid fire question: cheese curds or cheese fries?
Cheese fries. I've never had cheese curds, and honestly,
You are missing out, boy.
Yeah. All right, Nate, rapid fire, ready?
Let's do it.
All right, rock star or movie star?
Rockstar.
Ooh, see, I thought you were gonna say movie star. All right, would you rather have your car stolen or all your collectible items stolen?
Ooh, car stolen.
That was an easy question.
Yeah, those are pretty easy.
I'm fairly confident that if I sold all of my collectibles I have, they'd probably be worth more than my car.
Right, you could buy
So-
a nice new car with all that. All right,
Yeah.
rapid fire for me. Over. Who's up next?
I'll go next. All right, Steve, you ready?
Yes.
All right, top pet peeve.
Ooh, top pet peeve. Let's. I'm gonna go with when people invade my personal space.
Ooh.
Okay.
Don't stand so close to me, Alex. All right. All right, back up a
Yes,
little bit.
just so you guys have some context, I'm actually sitting on Steve's lap right now.
Right.
For
It's
the
kind of an
entirety of
odd-
the
yeah.
show.
That's why I haven't talked very much. Because
Yes. He's just like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here.
This is weird.
check out that beard hair.
And let's see here. I was just gonna say top 3 bands.
Top 3 bands.
Yeah.
Weezer,
Nice.
Incubus,
They got a good album.
and then I'm probably gonna say Nate's favorite, Creed. No,
Ooh.
Rolling Stones.
Ooh.
All right.
And then for Nate, ready?
Yeah.
Favorite bad movie.
Ooh.
That's not Friday the 13th, since we already talked about it.
Ready Player One.
See, like I don't want to say The Room. I don't want to say Troll 2 because those are too easy. Fuck. Favorite bad movie I enjoy to watch is a video game movie starring The Rock. It's called Doom.
Ooh.
That's a good one. It's pretty
I don't know
bad.
if I've seen Doom. I know that's an older one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
well,
from-
not super old.
yeah,
but,
like
you know,
2006 maybe.
Yeah, mid 2000s. And then here we go with the bands again. Desert Island Band.
Desert Island Band. When I think of a band that I can just listen to the whole discography and it's pretty long, see, I wouldn't go with something like Weezer because Weezer definitely has some straight up dog shit albums.
Maybe anything past 2000.
God, these are really tough questions. These are not rapid
These
fire.
are not rapid
These
fire.
are hard.
You know,
These
this was
are
not. This
thinkers.
was not on the list that I sent you.
Rapid
I
fire
was
is
just
supposed
thinking
to be easy questions.
because
and-
Green Room. You remember? You watch Green Room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like one of the big things that they talked about, the Desert Island bands.
Well,
I was
it's,
trying to think of what mine would be.
it's funny you mentioned that because I'm going to go with my favorite hardcore band, Turnstile. I definitely can't get enough of any of their releases.
Welcome to Beantown.
Although, their discography is probably about like an hour long, so it'd probably get real old real quick. But those first couple hours, I'd be having a great time. All right, here's my rapid fire questions. Steve, are you ready?
Yes.
How do you like your steak cooked?
Ooh, let's do medium.
Oh,
Medium. All right.
Yes.
What'd you have for breakfast?
I had a ham and mashed potato plate today.
Some
for
leftovers?
breakfast. Yes, some leftovers from Easter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sredy, what was the last movie you watched and what'd you think of it?
the last movie I watched, I think, was Ready Player One, and
already
I
talked
loved
about
it. We
that.
talked about that. Okay, I'm not going to go with movie. I'm going to go with TV show. I am watching Mr. Robot right now, and it is phenomenal.
All right, cool. What is your least favorite beverage?
Least favorite beverage. Coffee. I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee, and
Damn.
I'm never going to start drinking coffee.
All right. Well, that was our rapid fire segment there.
Rapid
So
fire.
we're gonna be getting on our hitting the dusty trail here, Steve.
All right, guys, time to do all those shameless plugs.
You look like you were looking at something. You have something else?
No, I'm good. Yeah,
Okay,
I was just
cool.
checking the time because it's almost nap time for me. You guys know
Nap
me.
time.
Okay, so if you're looking to follow us on social media, remember, send us your questions or topic suggestions to thelowsidepodcast@gmail.com. Please.
Let us know what you think.
Facebook, we're the Low Side Podcast, and Twitter and Instagram is at the Low Side Podcast. It's pretty easy to find us. I was actually pretty happy when I was setting up the social media, finding out that the name
Nobody uses low side.
It just does.
It's
the name,
genius.
Yeah, the name wasn't taken, and pretty much if you just type in Low Side Podcast anywhere, you'll find our stuff. So,
What up?
of course, I'm Nate. I've been joined with Steve
Thank you guys for listening.
and Alex,
Peace.
and we will see you next time on the Low Side Podcast.